Welcome back, Shit Talking Army. It's those your two favorite dads here talking. I'm Logan. That's Daniel. We have an exciting show for you today. They say three times is a charm. Well, this is our third show of the week, and as I've been promising, I'm gonna shut my loud mouth up, and I'm gonna let my brother Daniel take this one. This week we've been talking a lot about bullying. And, and allegedly I was accused of bullying some kid back in junior high, and he still has a problem with it. Again, I apologize to you. You can go check out that episode in one of our previous episodes from earlier in the week. Of course, we want to say please like, subscribe, ring the notification bell so that you know when we do come on live, so you can check out the show as soon as they're published. Please leave your comments, because this platform truly is of the people, by the people, and definitely for the people. If there is episodes or things you would like us to talk about, great. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you have comments, questions, or if you just want to be like, would love the show, didn't like the show, we want to hear your thoughts too. We want to make this platform better. We want to bring you better content, and we want to make sure that we are reaching the folks that need to hear it. So, Daniel, this is your day today, brother. I'm going to send it over to you. What do you have to tell us today?
Absolutely. Well, I just want to let you know, too, I'm doing actual father duties today. I have both of my boys with me. So if anyone hears any noises or anything like that, just got to have a little child spice to it,
We'll roll with it. Don't worry about it. Everyone's been there that's probably listening to our show.
Right. Yeah, but so yeah, we've been talking about bullying, how you allegedly been a bully, and you've been bullied. I want to tell my story about I've been bullied all through school. Growing up, I was more of an artistic, like being an artist, like what I do today now, where I like doing art. I liked doing crafts, stuff like that.
You're creative.
I was creative. Thank you.
Right.
But I was also quiet. I wasn't like one of those star football quarterbacks or any like the popular kids, I would like to say. But want to kind of share some of my experiences with bullying. So it actually all stemmed back from elementary school. I went to a private school in Metro Detroit, and ultimately, what would happen would be I would be the class scapegoat, where there were I'll give an example. There were times where we'd be at recess. I would be in a completely different side of the playground. Then there would be a fight that would break out, or there would be some sort of issue that would break out or something. And they would be like, oh, Daniel caused it. Daniel did that. Things like that.
Someone actually believed that you caused the fight. I can't see that. I mean, that's just idiotic. I mean,
Right.
You're the most nice, mild-mannered, meek person I've ever met.
Yep.
Yeah, but so they would just blame you just because.
Yeah, just because. And you also had teachers. Some of the teachers were awesome. I have to first say that. There were a few, not so much. And I'm just going to name them Mrs. Smith. All right. So Mrs. Smith, I'd be in her class. There would be I could be getting a drink of water or something like that. I'd come back in. Then I had the principal and everybody in the school officials in the classroom. They're like, Daniel, why did you crash the bookshelf, or why did something happen, or something to that extent? I'd be the one getting in trouble all the time. And my parents would be like, this is BS. So, Logan, you ready for what they wanted me to do? You ready for what they did? So they were doing this thing where they wanted everybody on Ritalin so they can have the control over them. And if kids that wouldn't do it, they would get in trouble. They would constantly get into trouble, things like that, to try to get them to leave. That's what I felt of it. Even my boy agrees. So ultimately, my parents ended up transferring me to a different private school. Same organization, but different school, different area. So way better. It was way better. So that was one thing that would happen. It then would
Now,
happen where
what made it better? I mean, obviously you didn't have teachers blaming you for crashing bookshelves while you're out getting a drink, but I mean, what sounds like, again, if anyone ever would meet Daniel or people that know Daniel in person would know that, I can't see Daniel going Hulk and smashing bookshelves and all the rest. So, I mean, I
must be
guess
my
at that time, my first question for you, Daniel, would be, so you walk back in, there's so you said school officials, I would imagine principal, vice principal, someone of that nature, maybe
yeah.
dean of students. And, and they're like, hey, this bookshelf was smashed. And, and when the teacher and everyone turned and pointed at you, what was your initial thought? Like, you're just coming back into the room.
Dude, I was a kid. I was like, what?
How old were you?
Like
what grade?
7, 8. It was from 1st through 3rd grade.
Okay.
1st grade was better, but then it got consistently worse until 3rd grade.
Now, why do you think that they singled you out of all the kids? I mean, because kids are cruel, that's why there's that slogan. So I can understand why kids would go out of their way to pick on you, but why do you think the teachers did? I mean, that seems a little obsessive and out of the ordinary.
What I noticed with them is they had their own select few that they would protect and that they would be all about them because they're, their friends, the families are friends with them, etc., with the school officials, things like that. So they would be, well, this person did it, but we're going to blame it on me, on Daniel, or we're going to blame it on someone else or whoever.
Yeah. Did they spread the blame around, or were you always just the kind of the patsy in the class?
I'd say 8 out of 10 times. Yeah. I wasn't a troublemaker.
Well, no, I mean, you're the nicest human being possible. I can't see you, they say, I can't see you killing a fly more or less than smashing bookshelves and doing all these things that they're accusing you of.
Or there was another instance where they were at the playground. I liked being on monkey bars and the swings, things like that. This little brother of another kid, he fell and hurt himself. And then he's like, someone hit me, someone pushed me, or something like that. Then all of a sudden they're like, oh, Daniel did that. I'm all the way on the other side of the playground, my own business, hanging out with my own friends of that school, and had nothing to do with it. The principal ended up talking to the whole class. But they were like, Daniel actually didn't do that this time. It was this kid.
Well, I mean,
I have no words to say about that. It's like, what the fuck?
So then, I mean, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your story, but so then when you skip forward, and now, I mean, I do remember at that time, Ritalin was being given out like candy. I mean, every kid that had a little bit of a wiggle or a jiggle or, couldn't sit still or what have you, they were all being prescribed Ritalin. So I know that was kind of a blanket way of handling a myriad of problems in that era.
I looked at it as more control of the kids.
So when you decided not to go on, when you and your parents and your own personal doctor said, hey, we don't feel he needs, this drug, how did the school retaliate or act towards you at that point?
Progressively worse. Consistent, started getting to verbal abuse to the point of where,
what would they say to you specifically?
Indirectly saying I'm a retard or whatever, things like that. And saying,
now this is the teachers or is this students?
Students. And then you had teachers where they would, oh, well, this is spelled wrong. All of a sudden I started failing my classes.
You started failing your classes?
Yeah.
You need to go pick up the big fella?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me
go pick him up and bring him back on. I'll talk for a minute while you go get him.
All right, one sec.
This is a very good example of how, as parents, we have to make sure that we're connecting with our kids on a daily basis. When my kids come home every day, I'm always, the first thing I ask is, hey, what interesting thing happened to you today, with you today? What happened at school? How, I want to know, how are your teachers speaking to you? How is your classmates treating you? How is your mental well-being in and around school? Because you have to advocate for your kids. We think, by, as parents, by sending our kids off to school, we're sending them to a safe place. But just because the building might be secure and there might not be any foolishness that you hear about, like class shootings or something going on there, does not mean that your kids aren't being inadvertently harmed by the school environment. So you have to totally advocate for everything for your kids' success within the scholastic realm. And that is not only just their education, but their emotional, social well-being. And the story that Daniel is telling here of systematically being picked on by not only kids, which that's understandable, because again, like I said, kids are cruel, but having teachers and administrators go out of their way to, pick on him and to single him out and to make him feel less than, that's just awful. That's hurtful. And that in itself, I'm sure, has a lasting effect on a person. Look at that cute baby right there. Hey, Peter.
Say hi.
What's going on, bud?
I guess he wants to be a co-host today.
All right. Well, we have a special guest here today. This is Peter Pumpkin Eater, and looking with his little cute self, looking like daddy.
Yo.
So introduce your son to everyone. Daniel, how old is he?
Yeah, this is Peter. He is 6 months old. Already crawling, already trying to stand up already. Pull himself up to stand. Just a matter of time until he starts walking. And yeah, it's a good little man.
And now today he's a guest co-host.
Yes.
Fantastic. Well, go ahead, Daniel. Please continue with your story. I didn't mean to break in and start asking you questions, but go ahead.
No, it's okay. So what would happen is what it appeared, is they would set in situations like this, like what I was telling you about. Well, he's not focusing all this other stuff. He needs to be on Ritalin, or we're going to have to bring in child protective services and all this other crap.
They were going to call child protective services on your parents. Like, what kind of things did they feel? Because usually when you see that, it's because a child's like, cutting themselves, or, talking about, always doom and gloom, or, hurting themselves in some way or hurting someone else. You're a very quiet, meek person now. I can't imagine what you might have been as a child. What do they feel was warranted to bring in child protective services on your parents?
They were hell-bent on getting me on Ritalin. That's all it was.
Sounds like that they had a relationship with a doctor where, they sent him patients and maybe he gave them a little donation to the school each year.
The funny thing was, I saw their doctor too through the organization, and they're like, you don't need Ritalin. Like, if anybody needs Ritalin, it's them.
Wow. So you went to their specialist, and their own specialist said they're at fault, not you.
Exactly.
So when the doctor sent his evaluation back to the school, then what happened?
It ultimately got to the point where my parents and them agreed I would have to transfer out. It got to that. That's where it got to that point where they're like, he needs to go to a different school.
And what grade were you in at this point?
3rd grade.
Okay. So then where did you go?
So I went to this other school, amazing school.
Was it a private school as well, or is it public?
Private school as well. Same organization, a religious organization.
Well, this is a religious organization. Would they have like a college campus? They had a lot of schools.
They had a lot of schools all through the metro area because, it's an organization.
So they sent you from so you started at one of their schools, 1st through 3rd.
Yeah.
Well, no, you started at first grade, then you went, then you and then you transferred
preschool through third grade.
Third grade, then you transferred to another school, which was better than the first one.
Yeah,
but they want to stick you on Ritalin, and now they're saying, okay, they have to. We got to now transfer to yet another school.
No, so ended up transferring from the first school to this new school. The principal, the different teachers, so much love and respect. They helped me build a fantastic foundation of who I am today, through my relationship with God, as well as gave me the tools and everything to help me have a future, have a life. And they're like, no, you don't need to be on Ritalin. So that's what happened there. There was some bullying and stuff like that, but it was just typical kids picking on each other type thing. But it wasn't, it hurt, but it also helped me, toughen up and stuff like that, and started to really develop what I do today of being a creative. Yeah, exactly. Little man agrees with me. But yeah, so went from there. I got to play sports, play basketball, things that what any other school should be allowing their students to do, But ended up went to the high school, same organization, and it went right back into the way things were, where I'd be blamed, I'd be verbally abused, things like that, to be like, well, you have no work.
The teachers would actually say this to you, or is this other students?
And every time that I would even speak back or anything to them, teachers were like, no, you got to be quiet. You got to accept it. Either fall in line or get out.
Man, that sounds like a house of horrors. Now, were these students that you grew up with from the other organizations that just advanced forward in the grades? So were they kids that had picked on you before and they just continue to pick on you? Or was this a new group of students at the high school that you ran into that saw the big bullseye on your back and decided to throw the darts at it?
From the other schools. Funny story was the kids from the first school, we became pretty darn good friends. I feel like I still have connections with them. They had really cool teachers in there, some cool teachers, but there was still that select few that were protected by the teachers, that were immune. They could do whatever they want. They could, like example, you have to have certain haircuts, things like that to follow the rules.
Certain haircuts?
So you couldn't touch the ear, you couldn't touch the collar, things like
what is this, Footloose?
Right? It's private school, man. You gotta follow the rules. Yeah, but overall, the whole situation made me who I am today. I am one where I'm centered, focused. I like to, you guys, like Logan, me. I'm kind. I have a good heart. But ultimately the school helped me have a good foundation with God, with my job, with verbal skills, things like that. They really did overall help me. Not everybody, but the few teachers, and shout out to them. But those that did mistreat, I moved on from that. It's childish. It was very drama. I don't have time for the drama, and what I would say to them is, I pray for you. I moved on and I forgive you, but everything, I moved on. That's all I have to say. I moved on. I'm not worried about that anymore.
I mean, it takes a lot of courage, first and foremost, to move on. It takes even more courage to come on a platform like this and let yourself be vulnerable to tell of your experience and how it affected you at that point in time. But it's also very liberating to see how you've been able to grow forward and move forward, and and definitely allow your faith and just your inner strength to show that no matter how things are, how bleak and things can seem at any point in time of our lives, that if we do lean on our faith, we do lean on our family. And we, growing up, my mother and I had a saying every time she would drop me off from school, and we still remind each other of it today. And it's kind of what I'm hearing you say at this moment, where our saying is, yes, Peter, what is it? Hey, Peter. Is simply, we just say to each other, remember the good things and leave the bad things behind. And it's good that you've been able to leave that in your past and go into your future. But as I see you're holding your beautiful baby boy there, I guess a question I'm sure our listeners would have, and I have, is would you enroll your kids in that same church organization?
No. The reason being is there's other organizations that have much better education. Example, my wife, she's a Catholic school teacher, and I'd honestly probably send them through the Catholic school system or the public schools. And the reason why public school, as an example, when I was in high school, I went to VOTEC. It's like a career technical center that I went from junior year through senior year. I learned out of the 4 years of the high school there, I learned more out of those 2 years at the VOTEC, at the Career Technical Center, than I ever learned in high school.
Now, how did you have the opportunity to go your last 2 years at that public school?
Had a guidance counselor. I'll call him Mr. Smith. He really helped me. He knew the situation. He knew the whole situation, and he wanted to help give me the grow roots into something that would help me to what I do today.
Cool. Well, there's always those special people that come into your lives when you most need them. I'm sure at one point I'll tell some more of my school experiences, especially elementary, that don't revolve around, some of the situations we've talked about earlier this week. But, there's definitely some special people and some special teachers that can make all the difference and help put you on a pathway and a trajectory to success. And then there are those that, unfortunately can send promising souls the other direction as well. So I'm glad you had someone that came into your life that saw your potential. All your clients and all the people that know you here in the Broomfield Chamber and the Broomfield business community, we're all appreciative of that person, because you are an amazing business leader within our community, an amazing friend in person, and I feel thankful to know you. So really proud of you, brother. Glad that you got beyond all the BS and that you didn't allow those people to hold you back. And thank you again for sharing your story today.
Absolutely. One last note I would like to say is when you do choose schools and stuff like that, make sure you do everything you can for your kids to know the truth of how schools actually operate and things like that. No matter if it's a private school, public school, whatever, you want to make sure you hear all the sides, not just, the positive reviews. Oh yeah, there's 100 positive reviews. There's also 10 negative reviews. Read the negative reviews too, because you want to make sure that, they're not paid. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, you want to make sure that it's real.
Exactly. Well, that's a great note. I think on that note, again, hit the subscribe, like, and put your own personal comments in the section. I'm sure there's a lot of folks that can relate to Daniel's story here today. We'd love to hear your stories of overcoming adversity, especially in and around the topic of bullying and school malfeasance. And Peter, thank you for joining us today. That's been quite the surprise. And we hope we can have you back on the show again in the future with your big eyes. And Daniel, thank you again for just being vulnerable and telling everyone the other side of what it's like to grow up and go through your scholastic career of being picked on and bullied, because so many people like to look at bullying as a snapshot in time, like this one particular moment. They don't want to look at it as a systematic, from start to finish in a lot of regards. So we're glad that you were strong enough to survive it and overcome it and be the man you are today.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Our pleasure. Well, with that note, that's two dads talking shh, and we're out of here. See you next week.